First, he needs to adjust the left side mirror to the correct settings. He adjusted it so that the left door handle is visible in the inner lower corner of the mirror. He set the mirror so that he can see only a small part of his car, but more of the road, which is the correct adjustment. Now let's see how to adjust the right mirror. In the same way, he positioned the door handle in the lower corner there as well and adjusted the right mirror accordingly. Then he moves on to adjusting the interior rearview mirror. We adjust the interior rearview mirrors manually. So, what do we use as a reference for the adjustment? We adjust the mirror so that the rear window is visible within the interior rearview mirror. As you can see, you can clearly see the vehicle behind through the mirror. He released the handbrake, shifted into first gear, set it to the starting gear, and turned on the left signal. We are expected to give the left signal when starting off. This doesn't mean we're going to turn left, but we use the left signal to join the traffic. Sometimes our candidates specifically ask this question: why do we use the left signal? They ask because we're going straight even though we're not turning left. This is not a left turn signal, so this is our participation signal. However, here at the initial start, I want you to bring the clutch to the halfway position. Support with the gas after the car starts moving, but keep the clutch at the same level. Let the car go like this for at least 5 to 10 meters, and then you can release the clutch completely. He moved to the gas pedal, held the clutch, and did you see? He released the clutch after a certain period. After starting, you can immediately shift the car into second gear. Here, when the car's speed was around 13 to 15 kilometers per hour, the driver chose to shift into second gear for a smoother drive. We will turn right ahead. He turned on the right signal. He is looking to the left. He noticed that there was a car coming from the left. He slowed down like this. And did you notice? Here, without stopping the car, he shifted back to first gear. Because he slowed down in case he might have to stop, his speed dropped below 10 kilometers per hour and he shifted to first gear. As you can see, when changing gears, he releases the clutch very gently, just like during takeoff. He doesn't release it immediately, therefore we release the clutch slowly. At uncontrolled intersections, that is, intersections where there are no traffic signs, we call these uncontrolled intersections, vehicles must yield to vehicles coming from their right. Depending on your position, you should yield to the vehicle coming from your right. If you are on their right, they should yield to you. It doesn't really matter here who is going straight or who is turning. This rule is valid in many countries. We direct our traffic according to these rules. However, unfortunately, this is not a rule that is widely followed. Therefore, at uncontrolled intersections, that is, at intersections where there are no signs, please make sure to check both your right and your left thoroughly. In other words, check your entire surroundings. Make eye contact with the other drivers and only then begin to proceed. He checked the left and the right. He looked to the left again. He looked to the right again. In other words, he checked both sides twice. This means the following. If you're not sure, proceed slowly and you can look more than once, both to the right and to the left. Make sure. On streets like these, where cars are parked on both sides, when a vehicle approaches from the opposite direction, our candidates often experience the following situation. They try to avoid the oncoming vehicle excessively and move too close to the right side. This creates a risk of damaging the cars parked on the right. Therefore, when passing through narrow spaces, especially in areas with two-way traffic, the first thing you should do is reduce your speed. Because when you reduce your speed, as I mentioned earlier, you have a better chance to control your surroundings. You can also adjust your distance more accurately with both the vehicles in your lane and the oncoming vehicles. Keep this in mind as well. It's an important point. This sign indicates a controlled intersection because there is a traffic sign. If there were traffic lights, we would call it a signal-controlled intersection. The meaning of the stop sign is that you absolutely must stop. In other words, the wheels of the vehicle must come to a complete stop. The stop sign is one of the most important traffic signs. It has some features that distinguish it from other signs. It is the only traffic sign with 8 sides, in other words, the only octagonal sign. Therefore, even if it is covered with mud or snow, as long as you can see its edges, you can recognize the stop sign anywhere. At some intersections, our driver candidates especially experience hesitation about who has the right of way. Should I go here or should I yield to the other side? Whoever has the stop sign on their side must yield to the other. In other words, here the stop sign is facing us and is in front of us. Therefore, we do not have the right of way. We need to yield the right of way to the other vehicles. After they pass, we can enter the road as well. Now, after passing the stop sign a little, he checks the left side and stops. He stopped and immediately shifted into first gear. After the vehicle passes, he continues on the road. As your speed increases, you need to shift to a higher gear. You can do this based on your speed in kilometers per hour. You can shift up a gear every 20 kilometers at 20, 40, 60, 80, or you can do it according to your tachometer. This is a highway connection road, let's say it again. The speed limit on this road is 70 kilometers per hour. Now there's a traffic sign ahead of us here. We'll see it better as we get closer in a moment. Let's stop here. The traffic sign you see means that the road narrows from the right side. So as you go a bit further, you'll see that the right lane narrows a little from the right side. Therefore, you can handle this in two ways. You can reduce your speed and stay in your lane, but move a bit closer to the center line. If necessary, you can even drive over it. You can use the road this way. Of course, if you decide to move into the left lane, you should do so properly. Signal left and gradually move into the left lane, of course first checking your mirror for traffic coming from behind. Let's see together how the driver will make their choice here. He downshifted, put it into third gear, reduced his speed a bit and stayed in his lane. He's driving a bit closer to the center line because there are cars on his left he couldn't pass. So by reducing his speed, he stayed in his lane and made a more controlled maneuver. Of course, when driving, our primary goal is always to look ahead, but make it a habit to check your mirrors frequently. Once you get used to checking your mirrors, you'll have much more information about your surroundings. You can observe who's coming up behind you, how close you are to the right side, and how close you are to the left side, and this gives you a better chance of driving more safely. Therefore, I recommend that from your very first lesson, you get used to making mirror checks constantly and with quick glances. Yes, here the driver took their foot off the gas pedal. In fact, I did this here on purpose, because what I want to tell you here is this. There's a slight downhill slope on this road, so it's a bit like we're going downhill. You might not be able to fully see this from the footage, but on roads like this, you can take your foot off the gas pedal. Because since the road slopes downward, the car will accelerate on its own and gain momentum. So you should take your foot off the gas pedal, and if you keep it closer to the brake, you can tap the brake when necessary. There's no need to press the gas. Here we are approaching a set of traffic lights. Once again, it's an intersection and now we'll be merging onto the highway. As we approach the highway entrance, we can see there's an obstacle in the right lane ahead of us. The first thing the driver does upon noticing this is to check the mirror for traffic coming from the left and behind, because they will want to move into the left lane. To pass it, if the traffic coming from the left is clear, if there is a vehicle approaching from your left that is moving faster than you, in this case, you should slow down and if necessary, stop behind the obstacle. But check the left side in advance. If there is no one coming, as the driver does here, signal and gradually move to the left. He turned on the right signal again and returned to his lane, because he is going to make a right turn. And let's pay attention here, he downshifted again. That is, he shifted from third gear to second gear because the speed of the vehicle decreased. As you can see, the green light is still on, and right at this point, the light turns yellow. As soon as the driver notices this, as you can see, he pressed the clutch and stopped with the brake. A yellow light means get ready to stop. So when you see the yellow light and you have time to stop, you should stop, because the light could turn red just as you are about to cross. In this case, you may have committed a traffic violation, so let's be mindful of that. However, if the light turns yellow just as you are crossing and you would have to make a sudden stop that could endanger traffic safety, you may go through on yellow without stopping.